Good evening, everyone, and you are welcome to day two of the Gaix Career Week. My name is Rita, and I am going to be your uh, your protege today, or I am going to hold your hand and guide you through today's activities. Um, Yesterday on day one, if you missed it, we had a very nice conversation with Mr. Lewis, who is who is a giant in the gaming and animation industry. He gave us a few tips on the careers that you can explore in the gaming industry. So that was wonderful, and I'm very sad you missed it. But you can watch the preview on our YouTube channel, Adi, Africa Comic Adi. Today, we have a wonderful guest. He is a senior iOS engineer with 6 years experience. Does not play from banking and finance to entertainment. And then next thing you know, he's a software and game developer with a strong background in gaming design, programming systems, and systems architecture. He has worked for a variety of indie game studios and other prototypes. He'll be discussing zero, by my language, BS approach to making good games. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Feranmi. Good
Hi,
evening. How are you?
everyone. Doing very good. How about
Hi.
you?
Fine. How was your day today?
Yeah, pretty good. Just working on games, and I must say, pretty
Our favorite thing to work on. Okay, so I'll give you the stage. I'll hand the mic over to you, please.
okay. All right. Hello, everybody. So today we will be talking about a zero BS approach to making good games, right? So the reason I came up with this talk was that in Africa, especially, we are working on games, but we kind of struggle to make good games, and there are like so many things, so many advice flying everywhere. So I'm here to like try to give you a straight to the point, no deceiving approach to making good games. So here we go. So the first thing I would say is okay, let me turn this to a slideshow so you see it better. First is 90% of you here won't ship a proper video game. And I know that's a very big claim, but it's just the truth, right? I have been making games for the past 8+ years and I have seen it over and over. And even with me, like from my experience, I have not been able to ship a proper game for a long time until I figured out some things. And now I am doing better. Now, what am I? I am fair on me, but most people call me fair, right? I've been making games for almost 9 years now. I have made multiple video games and prototypes. I'm currently working on a game called Touchdown. Now, these are some examples of the various prototypes and games I have built over the past few years, and you can take a look. Different samples I do from top down to first person to even just interactive demos. Now, this is the game I'm currently working on, which is called Touchdown, which is a game where you run, jump, and dodge obstacles just to get every delivery done. And you play as the unluckiest delivery man, so everything is out to get you. Now, over the past 1 year, I have built a community with over 15,000 followers across all platforms, 200 plus Discord members, and 3.5 million views in total across all the platforms where I have been showcasing my game. Now, why this talk? Again, I'm going to reiterate the reason I am giving this talk is to explain to you how you can start making video games without having to go through all the sea of advice out there that's like trying to deceive you or selling you a course. Now, who is this for? It's for anyone with zero experience making games, beginners, intermediate, and also the advanced game developers. Now, first of all, this is the video game making process. As you can see, we have three different arms, which is development, marketing, PR, and launch. These are very, very, very hard to do. As you can see, under developer, we have things like ideation, planning, concepting, prototypes, and the list goes on. Under marketing, you have market research, market analysis, and then PR plus launch. There are lots of things. So when you look at making games, you see this full list. It can be quite daunting. So it's not easy to make games. This is a well-known fact, and this is coming from someone who has worked in the software space. I have seen the difference between making a game and making a game and making software. It's hard, but it is very much doable, and I'm here to tell you how. So the first step, as usual, is that you have to pick a game engine, right? We have multiple game engines such as Unity, Godot, Unreal, and GameMaker, right? First, you just have to pick an engine and move on. We spend so much time. I've seen a lot of people spend so much time on, oh, what engine am I going to use? What technology? What programming language? Sorry about that. And what I just have to say is pick any engine and move on. But please do not pick Unreal Engine. That's a very controversial take. But why would I say don't pick Unreal Engine? It's like shooting a rocket launcher at an ant, but you have weak noodle arms. It's a very powerful engine, but you most likely would not know how to use it. The common issues with Unreal is that Unreal isn't beginner friendly because it is too heavy, it has a steep learning curve, it is difficult to optimize, it takes a lot of disk space, too many features for a beginner to understand, it lacks proper documentation and tutorials, and it requires a mid to high range PC, which is quite expensive in the kind of economy we are facing in the world now, especially here in Africa, where it's very, very expensive to find higher end pieces that don't like break the bank. So I usually do not recommend Unreal Engine because it makes the entry into game development very hard for someone just starting out. So I would say go with any of these three engines: Unity, Godot, or GameMaker. Why should you use these engines? Because they are lightweight by design, the ease of use and broad platform support. They have lighter footprint on your PC, so you can even use a potato to run any of these engines, and it's going to work just fine. It allows you to start game development without having to go through the hassle and the roadblocks that Unreal will give you. Next is you should not specialize. When you start making games, you need to learn everything. Learn programming, learn art, learn game design, level design, everything. Marketing, audio design, everything you can learn right now. Try to learn it. Next, you're not going to make the next Call of Duty or GTA. So you've probably picked up a course or two and you've started making a few prototypes. Please just know you're not going to make the next Call of Duty or GTA. You need to start small. Next up, we're going to talk about game design and how you can create meaningful experiences. Now, we used to be a country where we were creative. We had the games we used to play in school. We had our own game ideas like Biro Soccer, Biro Fight, Carousel, Rubber Band. We used to create our own video games. We used to have these ideas, but then we started consuming more than we were creating. And this created a situation where we all want to create the next Call of Duty, but we never want to create the next original idea. Meanwhile, when we were younger, we used to create our own ideas that that was unique to us, unique to our culture, and it didn't have to be like GTA but wrapped in Lagos, or it didn't have to be Call of Duty but in Maiduguri trying to fight Boko Haram. We had our own game ideas that were unique. Now, how do you come up with good game ideas? Find an existing game and add a unique twist. That is like the most common way. You can say, oh, okay, Call of Duty, but instead it's going to be a very small version where you play as Lego characters or where you play as toys that shoot each other with toy guns. That's like a unique twist. Because every game is a remix. Rocket League is just football but with cars. Call of Duty is just Doom but with hyper realistic graphics and animation. Fortnite is just a stylized version of PUBG. And PUBG is a remix of Daisy Battle Royale. The list goes on and on. So when you look at it properly, everything is a remix. You don't have to reinvent the wheel except you want to learn something. So whenever you can take shortcuts, no one really cares. Use assets. You can buy art, right? But it doesn't take away the fact that you need to understand how art works. You can buy art. You can read code online, copy code, and all those things, right? But take shortcuts. No one really cares. For instance, this is a very common example of shortcuts being used in a game called Fallout, where they needed to build a train system, but it was going to take a lot of time. So they just put the train on the head of like an NPC, and they made the NPC move round and round, and then that was the train. So you can utilize assets. There's no shame in that, right? If you've tried learning everything and you find out that art is not your strongest suit, don't be afraid to use assets. There are lots of free assets online. You can utilize that. That doesn't mean you should make asset flips. Very important. It doesn't mean you should take an asset online that is like an infinite runner and then say you've made a game, right? And because you just change one or two things, that's not a game, that's an asset flip. So we here in Africa suffer from a lot of asset flips. We don't have anything original. We just take something on the asset store and mash up whatever graphics we can find and just call it a day. That's not how it works. Make a lot of small games and finish them. This is the most important advice I got, which I never really followed until like 5 years into my game making career. Start small. Start make it. Try replicating a game like Snake. Add a unique twist. Try. Remember the game Bounce we used to play when we were younger. You can try replicating a game like that with a unique twist. Now you have this tool set. Make small games and finish them. It teaches you how to finish a game, how to market a game, and then you can use those systems for your next game until you're very good to like work on a big game, and maybe eventually you can make your own Call of Duty. With this, we can finally end the tyranny of infinite runners and match three games, which is like what we mostly build in this part of the world. Next, show your work. The world needs to see them. So you finally decided to make that game, right? And you've spent some time, first 1, 2, 3 months making it. You need to get it out of your hard drive as soon as possible. Like it shouldn't be just for your eyes. You're making the game for the world. Study people who are making games online. See how they share their posts. See how they, interact with people. Learn how they create their videos, how they showcase their games, and try to replicate that and show off your own games in the same way. Interact with those same people. Ask them questions. Make valuable contributions. Right. Try to learn and this side of game making process is the hardest, which is showing your work. So it doesn't cost a thing to drop a comment or two, to enter the DMs of your favorite, maybe game creators, and you'll definitely learn something there. Post everything you work on, the bugs, the mistakes, the features, your workflow. If you have a very cool, maybe way of doing something in your game engine, show it off. You don't know who might need it, and then you have a new fan who wants to play your game. If there's a bug in your game, you might feel it's a bug, it's embarrassing, but no, people love the fact that they know that oh, bugs happen and it's relatable. Like, oh, look at this funny bug, right? Mistakes happen. Show off your features. Like you have something unique in your game that no one else does. So show it off. Nobody gives a damn about your game until they do. What this means is that as long as you don't have a million people following, nobody's really going to give a damn, which means you can always show your game, right? Show it off, right? No matter how bad you think it looks, show it off. Like, you don't have anybody who is going to come and arrest you and be like, oh, your game is so terrible. We're going to arrest you. So, the more you keep showing off your game, they will finally give a damn about your game. That's how it works. Be consistent, hawk your game. Keep showing off your game at every possible chance you have. You will get feedback. You get people who don't like you, get people who like it. And from there, you improve it. Next, build a community of people who actually care. Now that you have people checking out your games, the next thing you have to do is probably build a mailing list, a Discord server. Get everybody in there who love your games, right? Make them interact so that you create a community of people who actually care. Social media is a bit fickle. Your account could get disabled. Your post might not get to your followers. That happens. So you need to build a community. And a recap of it all without all the fluff is choose a light game engine, don't specialize, learn everything. Start small but dream big. You're still going to make Call of Duty one day, but please start small. Recreate Snake, recreate Bounce. Rediscover your creativity. Don't be stuck in the whole you need to replicate GTA, Call of Duty. There are other mini ideas and super cool game ideas you could do. We need to be creative again as a set of people. We need to learn how to be creative. Utilize assets wisely. When you need to take shortcuts, but make sure you don't do asset flips. Focus on completing small games. That helps. That builds your confidence. That also makes you know what it takes to finish a game. Showcase your work consistently. The world needs to see your game. No matter how trashy you think it is, please shoot it out there, right? Nobody's going to kill you because your game is not cool looking, but it's definitely going to create people, like you're going to have a community who love your games, and then you build and nurture that audience. Thank you. Any questions?
Hi, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I'm somebody who I don't develop games at all, but I'm in the
Mm,
product management category of the gaming industry. So I watch
mm,
gamers, I interact with them, and I also interact
mm.
with game developers. And then there is this hype with Unreal Engine. It's just and immediately you put on your screen the list of engines there. I was like, Unreal. And then you were not like, don't use Unreal. I just lost it. Like, that's, that's crazy because somebody who doesn't know, somebody who's not in the industry would think, okay, this guy is the best guy. Meanwhile, it's just like you're carrying 200-pound rock on your back. Meanwhile, you don't actually need to. That was a
Yeah.
fantastic presentation. I also loved when you mentioned making a game is hard but doable. That is so real because as I said, I interact with a lot of game developers. They
Mhm.
they do not sleep. It's just coffee and I don't know, maybe is it okay if I say cigarettes? Yeah, just coffee and cigarettes and then lack of sleep. It is
Yeah.
not easy at all. So that was fantastic. And also how you highlighted the fact that you can take shortcuts. I mean, these days we have AI. You literally put in the right prompt, it can literally build the assets that you need just in the click of a button, or give you the correct code that you need to build what you need to use in your game. And that is now making games is as easy. No, that's wrong. That is wrong. Making games is now easier with this new feature. So thank you so much. I
Yeah.
personally have a question for
Okay.
for you. Okay, we have a question after my question. I personally have a question for you. You mentioned the the art of asset flip. Not the art, not there's nothing like that. You mentioned asset flipping. Please, I need
Mm,
information on asset flipping. How do you
okay.
know that this particular feature in a particular game was taken from someone else and then flipped? It's kind of how you have in design where you see somebody will take up your design and just change the color. So
Mhm.
I actually would like to know more about that.
Okay. That's really good. So the definition of asset flips is a bit vague, but one common thing about asset flips is that you can clearly see that no labor was added into it. So, for instance, you could release a game and I will release the same game because we both copied maybe the same source code, right? We just took what someone did. You did not really do any work in like trying to like improve it, right? You didn't try to change the color, you didn't try to make it your own style, your own unique look. You just pasted it like that and uploaded it to the store. Someone else does that, and I mean, then everybody starts to flip. It's like burgers. You start to flip burgers like
Yeah, that
yeah,
sounds
all
messy. Yeah, it
exactly.
does sound messy. It's kind of like stealing, but not like an artist. You're just basically
Yes,
stealing from somebody.
exactly. So
Please, steal like an artist. You guys, steal like an
and
artist.
again, yeah, still like an artist, but if you read the book, you remember that it tells you still to get references, then you modify and add your own
Exact.
touch. And
Oh, I
then
wish I could give you a high five. I wish I could just like give you a high five from here. We'll save that for later. Okay, so we have a few comments from us, our viewers. Emmanuel says he can't wait for it to start. We started. That's nice. Xavier said, "Don't pick on real, relatable." Rasta says, "Real talk." James says, "Have you heard him? Don't pick Unreal Engine. not user friendly. Real. MZAD is saying this man is telling it as it is. Everybody wants to give you a high five. Everybody wants to give you a chop knuckle. The 2D platformer looks good to me. Cool, Sir James. Xavier says specialization in Africa is tricky. Good point. Yes, you really have to specialize. If you're all over the place, it's not good at all, and you end up being burnt out. So we have a question from Emmanuel. He
Mhm.
says, "Thanks, Chima. My question is there no copyright in the gaming industry? I mean, regulators. I noticed you encourage copying and taking shortcuts."
Okay. Yeah. So let me explain what I mean by copying. Right. Okay. To answer the first question, copywriting in games is tricky because if everybody did copywriting for mechanics, you won't have Call of Duty because, for instance, if Doom did a copyright of first-person shooters, then they would sue Call of Duty for having a first-person shooter. So you
Mm-hmm.
can't really copyright stuff. Secondly, when I say copy, it's like what we said, you're still like an artist. I don't mean copy word for word, right? Games copy each other, right? Call of Duty copy Doom for a first person game, right? We have Fortnite. Fortnite copied PUBG, but did something
Mm-hmm.
better. That's a copy.
Yeah,
It's look for something that works, try to replicate it, and improve on that, right?
exactly.
That's the copy.
Exactly.
Because when you're starting off, it might be hard for you to come up with game ideas straight from your head. It happens, right? But having a reference point helps.
Yes, that is very important. Do not asset flip. Take your reference, you study the reference, and then put in your unique touch into the game. Make it small. Don't go into a heavy game like Call of Duty. That's not your duty. Okay, next question is, and also, can I add into the copyright regulation in the gaming industry? Because
Sure.
recently I did a course on copyright, and yes, there are people actually regulating this media. It's not just pushed out there. There's regulation to make sure that nobody is no gaming studio is maybe being taken advantage of by another gaming studio. So if you do something, you copy Call of Duty and you just post it out there, they are going to send you an email. You pay a lot of money. That's also what I'm saying. So the next question is, how do you market to African players? That's a very cool question. Are there platforms specially geared towards an African audience?
Mm. Okay, that's a very tricky question. So I personally started off making games for Africans, right? I was like, oh, I want to make an African game. And sadly, what I'll say is, are there platforms specifically geared towards an African audience? There isn't. There might be a platform, but there isn't any big platform now that guarantees you income, right? The best place you can play your game is the Play Store and the App Store. But one advice I do give is instead of saying you want to market to African players, why don't you market to the world? Make a game that's so good enough, right, for the world to accept. African players will naturally get towards you, right? For instance, it's like you make a game so good, foreigners love it, but then they see the Nigerian elements inside, right? They see downfall bosses. Obviously, Nigerians are going to want to play your game more. So you will market to the African players because the same African players pay a lot of money on like playing Call of Duty, FIFA. They spend money on coins, they spend money on cards, trading cards and whatnot. So now, instead of focusing, in my opinion, instead of focusing on just African players, focus on making a game so good that it is globally accepted, right? And then the African people will just follow suit. And then maybe when there's a platform, you bring your game to that platform, then you will sell to the African people.
Yeah, fantastic answer. Okay, I would also advise posting your stuff on social media. Basically, just like he said during his presentation, post your process, post everything from your failures, your success, to your struggles. I have not eaten today. I ate, but what you're eating is games. That is, you just post it on social media, and then you you get the attention that you deserve. The next question. Do you have any other question? We have Chooks Okafor saying, my question is why not Unreal?
Okay. Yeah, so why not Oreo is, like I said in the slides, right? We are in a country where where we have the skill issue in terms of like the demographic don't really have tech skills, and we have an economy issue where you can't easily afford a high range PC or a mid range PC that can you can easily use for Unreal, right? So Unreal has a very steep learning curve. The documentation is not as good as, let's say, Unity, Godot, or GameMaker. So I usually tell people, you can keep Unreal on the side for now. Learn the easier engines that have a lot of documentation. Because I know Unity, Godot, GameMaker, they teach you how to make games aside from even knowing the engine. So when you know how to make games, you build your skill, then you can go use Unreal when you have a better PC and like maybe a better game and you've learned how to make games. But don't start with Unreal. I would always say start with the lighter engines that you can easily use and learn how to make games with.
Yeah, start with an engine that you can run on a potato.
Yeah,
That's what you're aiming for. Because Unreal, you put in a lot of money into buying some kind of alienware, and then still you don't know how to use it.
exactly.
It can frustrate a creator. So it's very important. Okay. We have a question from Raphael. What are some of the struggles you faced starting out? Number one on the list.
Okay, I mean, I faced the common Nigerian problem of um, having a good PC. So that's why I keep saying not to use Unreal. Like I started with an Intel Pentium for my games where my games run like 20 FPS and all that. That was a
The fact
struggle.
that I can relate.
Yeah. So I also tried to build for mobile. My phone wasn't good enough. So that was like the Nigerian struggle. But in terms of technical struggles, so because of our education system here, we weren't really taught a lot of things that would have helped us in learning maybe game mathematics or
Yes.
vector math and all those things. So in games, you use a lot of position and vector math, and we weren't really taught that well. And when you go abroad, you find out that it's like a normal thing you teach them in like high school. So that was a struggle. I kind of because I knew normal programming, but video game programming was like a different thing I did not really understand. So I really struggled to like fully understand how you do things in games, right? So I really struggled with that. And then I struggled with the art aspects because I was artistic, or I thought I was artistic until you have to do games. You have to combine art and programming, right? And I really struggled bringing the two together, but I noticed that over time, taking references from other games, you will start to see, oh, this is why they did this, right? And that is so you find out that this is why they did this. You copy that, you take another thing from another game, you mash it up together, and then you now have your own style, and then you understand like better how to be artistic and how to come up with your own stuff. So those are majorly the struggles I faced starting off, and yeah, still facing more struggles now, but it's always a
Wahala,
struggle.
wahala no dey finish. Wahala no dey finish. For those listening, the last few steps you mentioned is exactly how to steal like an artist. You heard it here at Africa Comic Adi. You heard it here. Nowhere else. So I don't know once I can bring you this information. Okay,
Yeah.
we have a question from Slim Tiger, very skinny tiger. How many games have you worked on, and how long did the hardest take?
Hmm. Okay, that's a very good question. So I have worked on, let's say, three major games right now, right? So my first game was called Unarmed, right? So it was like I was trying to do Call of Duty, but
With
but
a
like with
face.
Nigerian soldiers, yeah, Nigerian soldier Call of Duty. That was my first idea. I worked on it for almost 3 years, right? And sadly, I never got to finish it, right? And I think that was my hardest game because I was making it when I was just learning how to make games, right? So I was learning while trying to do something so crazy, which is like making a full out action game. So it was hard because I learned hard lessons with it. And I finally learned the hardest lesson, which was learning to let go of something that's not possible. Right. So I took the hard pill. I was like, oh, I can't really finish this game. And then I killed it. And I worked on my next game, which was Gundams, which I ended up like finishing it to some point. It's on my each page. I published it to my each store. And that was like I took all my learnings from the previous game and my failings and I worked on that and I finished that. And now I'm working on my new game, which is Tossdown, which I showed. It's quite a chaotic game and it's like a way better game than the rest I've done.
I'm on your waiting list. Please write my name down now. I'm on your list for touchdown. Okay, we have a question from Xavier. Um, is making African themed game wise? Is making African themed games wise? The market is mainly Western. They buy more games. They buy more games than us. So, what are your thoughts on making games that? What are your thoughts on making games that are Western themed? The feature white folks. Okay, he's basically asking um
Mm.
African games, is it okay to make themed? Okay, for context, my
African,
question stems from the current anti-black culture war in the Western market, Legas.
okay.
So he's currently talking about, okay, should we make games with African themes? You know, most of the buyers are Western, so should we just make games that maybe cater to their needs, or should we? That's I think that's oh
Okay.
yeah,
This is
that's
going
it.
to be very This is going to be a very tricky one to answer, but yeah, it's something I've definitely discussed before. So yeah, let's start a hot, spicy discussion. Should you make an African video game, right? I personally believe video games can be an expression of your art. Can you make an African themed game? Yes. If you feel you want to, please go ahead. It's perfect. It's a representation of our culture that no one else can understand but us. Right? But now, do you want to sell an African themed game to the West? That is very difficult to do. Right? And why is it difficult? Now you're dealing with people who don't really understand your culture, right? A lot of them still think we live in huts, right? So it's going to be very hard to sell the African thing to them. Now, what can you do? A very good example of the roadmap we can follow is like China. Black Myth will come be one of the biggest games this year, and it focuses on Chinese culture. But you've never really seen this happen. Like for China to be as big as that, and their culture is only just like being significant in gaming in 2024, right? It shows that you have a lot of work to do. We need to up our quality. We need to learn. So if you're going to make an African themed game, make it so good it is irresistible. Black people come so good that it's irresistible. Nobody really cares that it's Chinese culture because it's good. First and foremost, it's a good game, right?
Yeah,
If you make a very good game, if you learn how to make very good games, then you infuse the African culture in it. Nobody is going to tell you, "Oh, I'm anti-black. I'm not going to play this. I'm anti-African." No, they will play it when everybody's hyped, right? Black Myth, they were like, "Oh, it doesn't feature this, it doesn't feature that," but it's the Chinese culture. People were like, "Nah, we don't care," right? And this is the same West that doesn't like China, right? But yet
exactly.
not the Chinese game. So if you're going to make an African themed game, make a game that is so damn good that people cannot resist. That's my own take on that. Right. So it's yeah, you can make an African themed game, but if you want to sell it, just make sure when you go for the king, you better not miss. Like your game must not miss. And then there's another side of the spectrum where you can just make the same Western themed games and sell it to them until you make enough money, build your studio, and then you can focus on an African game. So yeah, that's my
Real,
answer.
real. Fantastic answer. Thank you. The next question is from MZAD. Please forgive my pronunciation. I don't know, man. How important do you think LinkedIn is in regards to putting yourself out there as a developer? I understand this is not a place to find regular gamers, but it is effective for being seen. But it is effective for being seen by companies.
Mhm.
Okay, he's saying I understand it's not a place to find regular games, but it is. Is it effective for being seen by companies?
Okay, that's a really good question. So now, I think LinkedIn is important. I think every social media is important, but it depends on how you use it, right? First of all, if you're looking for gamers, I would not recommend LinkedIn. LinkedIn is more for professionals who might not really be your target audience. So, how you use LinkedIn matters. Do you show off something so good that companies cannot resist? More often than not, no company is going to come knocking on your door. Let's just get that out. You know, that whole dream of, oh, maybe EU will come knocking on your door. Like, oh my God, this is so good. It's rare. But one thing you can do is you can keep posting your works, and one day you find a recruiter, right, that works for one of these companies. Go knock on their door instead, right? Be like, hey, see what I do. Do you guys have a space for me? I want to join. I have this dream of working for EU. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? They ghost you. The best that could happen, they're like, okay, let's jump on a call. Let's just, know what you do. So there's that aspect where you use LinkedIn as a portfolio of just showing things, showing your processes, showing how you think, right? Then you can knock on the company's doors. But if they see you, most likely not. But you can knock and tell them to see you.
Yeah, amazing, amazing, amazing. The people that did not join today, I pity them because we are dropping gold in this call. Honestly, I think that's an effective way of getting recruiters to see you. We have a question from Rasta Bojo. How do you tap into the revenue side of gaming? Like making money from your game slash career. If you can share that side in your journey, that will be helpful.
Mm, that's a very, very good question. So, yeah, revenue side of gaming is something Oscar knows more about. But yeah, what I'll say is I'll be very transparent. Yeah, I have been making games, but I haven't made any substantial money from my games, right? Because first of all, we in Nigeria were not allowed for a long time to be able to create games on Steam. Steam is the marketplace where you get to sell your games. So most times I used to make my games, I used to put them for free, or my target was like the Play Store, App Store, and then running ads was not like putting ads on your game wasn't kind of my thing. So I never really went ahead with the mobile space. But now I could give you the answer based on what I am doing right now, right? Which is first of all, you need to choose a platform. Where do you want to make your revenue from? Do you want to go into mobile gaming? Then you need to learn how to do ads. You need to learn how to sell, how to you need to learn gamification, right? If you're going to a mobile space, how you put into the game and then pay for your game, right? Because mobile gamers might not pay for your game upfront at the price, but they will watch ads and buy game items. If you're going the PC gaming route, you need to make a game for Steam, right? Which is what I'm doing with my new game, right? You make a game for Steam, you set it at a price tag, and then you market it and promote it to get people to come and pay for your game, right? Like, okay, one time fee, and they get your games. So that's the revenue side. And lastly, if you want to be a developer for hire, you can do that. There's freelancing. You can decide, oh, I'm skilled enough, and you can help other people. You can freelance, help them solve their problems, and then you get paid for that while you're also making your own game on the side. So that's kind of how it goes.
Solid advice. Solid advice, honestly. We have a question from Michael. If you've tried making an educational game, what are the major challenges?
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I actually have, but it was more like a XR game. It was like mixed reality that I was still playing with reality and all those kind of stuff. So the challenges with educational game, first of all, is you have to know that it is a very small niche, right? you are dealing with a very small niche. Not many people seek educational gains, right? So you need to go. The major challenge is how can it be engaging, right, and also educational. Your game could be too engaging and it's not educational, or too educational and it's not fun and engaging. So you need to find a balance
Exactly.
that, right? So the major challenge when I used to do that is like, okay, now this thing is teaching people, but is it fun? That's why you need to learn gamification. Duolingo is a very good example if you want to make an educational. Duolingo is like Duolingo is really, really, really good with gamification. They send you notifications. We have streaks, right? We have so many systems that keep you coming back. Therefore, it's educational and also fun. And they also poke it fun as you in like you're like, oh, you missed today and all this kind of stuff. So the major challenge of educational games is how to make them fun and still educational. So I recommend you look at other educational games that are also great, like Elevate, Peak, Duolingo, and try to see how they did it and then replicate.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm part of the Duolingo parish. You know, he comes to my he comes to my bed every evening and disturbs me when I don't take a lesson. So I think
Yeah.
Duolingo is a good reference if you want to make an educational game. Okay, guys, that's oh okay. We have somebody here is proposing mentorship. That's amazing. Yes, Emmanuel, you can reach out to him through Africa Communica Day. Please maybe send us an email, reach out to us, maybe on social media, on Instagram or LinkedIn, and we will reach out to you. Yeah, please, we have a link attached to in the chat that you can feel to let us know how you feel about this session. If you learned a lot, if you enjoyed it, we would love to hear from you. Please feel it. The link is there. The link is there. Link is down there. Please feel it in Duolingo aggression. Feel it. Yeah. Thank you so much for giving us so much knowledge and wisdom today. We really appreciate you. It's so nice speaking to you today.
Yeah, I had so much fun. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
that's all. Have a
All
good
right.
night.
Everyone.
Bye. Okay, guys, I don't know about you, but I have learned a lot just from interacting with Farah, Rami. I think at this point I'm going to take gunshots because I do not pronounce people's name correctly. Please, I am very sorry for that. I apologize in advance. However, we are still going on because our next speaker is here. The amazing Hadi Idi, Idiat Idiat Hadeeart. I'm so sorry. Hidiat is a 3D designer, educator, and leader specializing in digital fashion, XR, and gaming. She is the founder of Hadeeart Elita, a creative studio that supports brands setting new standards in sustainability and innovation while empowering digital creators, and that is very cool. The studio collaborates with visionary founders to deliver impactful solutions through creativity and strategic planning and advanced technology. With over 5 years of experience, Hadeeart has worked with global brands like Adidas, Puma, and collaborated with Meta and the Fabricants. Please, everyone, Adidas. Hadeeart. Please send some love in the comment section. Send some love as she comes on to give her presentation. Hello. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm so sorry about. Please, how can I pronounce your name? I'm so sorry.
It's pronounced as Adiat, but for some,
Adia.
yeah, for some
Okay.
weird reason, I don't know, the camera is not coming on.
No, I want to see your beautiful face.
I'm trying to click on the camera icon, but it's not coming on, and I don't know why.
I mean that's fine as long as we can hear you and see your presentation. Then I think we are. You're good to go. Right. While we wait for Hadeeart to join us again, um, the presentation is up. Please let me know if you are still here by clicking your beautiful emoji buttons. Give us some shout out and some encouragement to our speaker this evening. Oh, she's here.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry. I think it was technical malfunction, so I apologize for that.
No, 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 no. This is Nigeria. It's a normal thing, please. No, no,
Oh,
don't
okay.
apologize for it. So I'm just happy that you're here,
Yeah.
honestly.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm sorry for the malfunctioning. So I would like to share my screen. How do I go about that?
Okay. There is this icon that looks like a screen, and then there's another arrow in it. So you click on that, and you can share. You should see that on your screen.
Okay. No, I can't see that on my screen. I think because I'm using an iPad.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
Are
I think
you
what I
using?
can do is I think I can share the document with Oscar. Would that be fine?
Yeah, fantastic.
Ah,
Yes.
okay.
Okay. While we wait for our speaker, let's play a game. Are you guys excited? Are you guys excited? So our game is name three games developed in Africa. Are you guys there? Can everyone hear me? If you can hear me, please let me know in the live chats. Hello. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, let me know. Click on your heart button. Let me know you're there. Yes, thank you very much. Okay, while our speaker is getting ready to educate us, to give us some nice food, to give us some nice content, let's let us. I think we should play a game. We in the comment section, let us name three games developed in Africa that you know. Downfall Reloaded. You guys are so predictable. I love that. Aki and Poporon. I did see that game and I saw Downfall Reloaded. Downfall Reloaded too. That was fun. But at some point, wow, I've not heard about it before. More games, guys. What other African games do you guys know? Come on, I know you can do it. There was this very nice one made in South Africa. There was also another very good one made in Rwanda. We have a lot made in Nigeria. Like our game store is filled with Nigerian games. Yes, Ole. Yes, Liberation of the Fallen. Your head is there. Otite Liberation of the Fallen. I have not played that. Nairobi X. Yes. You guys are on fire today. Oh. Nairobi X. Amazing. Oh, Jado. The games are flowing in. The in between. The games are flowing in. You guys are very cool. Yo, our speaker is back. Thank you so much for your inputs. Now, if you are listening and you don't know about any African games, you heard it from us. Now you've seen a lot of African games in the comment section, in the live chat. Go and download and play the games. You're welcome back, Hadeeart.
Thank you.
So, are you ready for us?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Let me hand over the mic to you.
Yeah. So, hi everybody. So, today I'll be taking you through how you can get into digital fashion, and I'll also be explaining what digital fashion is and the importance and the usefulness of digital fashion. So, for today's session, we'll be going into three things: what digital fashion is, a quick introduction into what digital fashion is, then what skills and tools are necessary in digital fashion, and the career opportunities in digital fashion as well. So, before I start, a brief introduction about myself. My name is Hadeeart. I'm the founder of Idiat Atelier. I'm a 3D virtual designer. I'm a UK Global Talent recipient. I won the 2023 MTN Digital Fashion Competition. I've worked at Puma, Adidas, and I've been opportunity to be featured in several newspapers. And I've collaborated with Meta, the Fabricant, and other industry players. And I've also spoken at various events as well. So yeah, that's who Adiat is. So yeah, into today's topic, what is digital fashion? So digital fashion is just the same way we have fashion in the real world, but this time around making garments digitally, making it from your computer, making it from the space of your room or from an office space, but with your computer, stitching a garment together using a sewing machine, but this time around online. So that's what digital fashion is. And also digital fashion is not eliminating physical fashion, it's just here to enhance physical fashion. It's just here to make sure that physical fashion is being done properly and in a more sustainable way. So evolution of digital fashion. So digital fashion did not just start today. It starts with in different phases. So early tech in fashion, that's where we have CAD designs where people are making 2D, 3D patterns, where people would just take the clothes, like when you go to your tailors, they would measure you and they will use like a paper, brown paper, to kind of like sketch out something or to draw out something to show you that this is the design they are trying to create. So then we moved from that and we moved to digital only fashion, and that's where we have people creating garments online, people trying to create garment and say, okay, this is a sketch and this is what you have, this is what I want to sew for you, and this is what you will get. So something like that. And now we are at the stage of digital fashion in gaming. So it has evolved to an extent that we are now having digital fashion in gaming. For an example, in 2019, the Fabricant, they actually sold a digital garment which for around 9,500 USD. And also we have brands now, physical fashion brands now actually using digital fashion in games. We have brands like Adidas, we have brands like Puma, we have Nike, we have Artifacts, I think that's what they are called. So these brands are now selling digital fashion in games like Fortnite, Second Life. Just name the online games, and you will see a fashion vendor there selling digital fashion garments. Next, please. Okay, so what are the current trends? So the current trend that we have now are metaverse and virtual worlds. Like I explained earlier, these are places that people kind of like sell their garments in different, like Decentraland, like Fortnite that I mentioned earlier. So that's where people kind of like put their garments and sell this physical garment that is being made digitally or just only digital garment. We also have NFTs and digital wearables. So, for an example, if you get a pair of Nike shoe, you can also get like a digital copy of the shoe, and you can also, so you can dress your avatar. So, say for an example, you play Fortnite or you play any of these games that are online games, then that way you're going to be able to have like the shoe you wear in real life on your avatar as well. So when you get the physical copy, you automatically also get like a digital copy. Then we have digital fashion in games. So like games like League of Legends, games like Fortnite, and a lot of games. So it's called skins. It's called actually called skin, not necessarily like digital fashion, but they are replica of what brands are doing in the physical world now. That's what you have in the digital world. So, what are the impact of digital fashion? Number one, we have sustainability. When you want to produce, so before in the fashion industry, production takes a lot of time, and they go from like measurements, cutting and sewing, checking of the fabrics, all these things that takes a longer period, takes a shorter period. For brands like Balmain, for brands like Louis Vuittons, they kind of like spend lesser amount of time now to kind of like create, and they're not just creating physical garments alone, they are creating digital garments as well. Digital fashion has also given rise to digital avatars. Like people now have models that kind of like model for brands, but they are digital, they do not exist in the physical, they only exist in the computer. So they can model for brands, and people can actually see these clothes without this clothes being manufactured physically. So that's like, and we have virtual try-ons. You can try on your clothing without before purchasing it in apps like Snapchat. If you're very used to Snapchat, you can take Snapchat and kind of like fit your shoe on your leg, just like what I have on the third slide. Then brands are already embracing this thing, and you can also view your garments in your room. You can test it out on your body before actually purchasing it to be really sure if this thing fits your skin color, if that's what you want to get. So it kind of like stop the thing that we have, what I ordered versus what I get, like we usually say. It's kind of like give you the exact thing you're ordering. So what is the future of digital fashion? So one of the future of digital fashion is technology shaping the future. So number one, we have AI now generating new design, new perspective. It also helps like game designers. If you're trying to create an African oriented games, it gives you like a more concept into the kind of designs, the kind of garments people would like to have. So I like to give some examples. So for the way we use meme and all those things, that's similar way that people have started to use like digital fashion garments these days in like in games, and kind of like try to maybe even create this clothing in real life, like from brands that we know. Then blockchain authentication, ownership, just like what Nike is doing. When you have a physical copy, you also get like a digital copy. And also enhancing virtual shopping. If you're going to shop like Snapchat, you can virtual try on, in-store virtual try-ons, and a couple of other stuff you can enjoy with the use of digital fashion. So what are the skills and tools? So if digital fashion is this beautiful, if this amazing, what are the skills and tools that we can learn to actually be a part of this technology, to be a part of this rising fashion? Because like I like to say, it's not just for the fashion industry, it's for the game industry and the movie industry. One thing I failed to mention then was like in movies, it's not actually all the garments they have that are actually made physically. Some of those garments you see in the movie are digitally made, and they are just like digital and put on the character, which is the actor, just to display that movie. So it's really like beyond just maybe the fashion industry or the game industry. It extends to the movie industry as well. So let's see the skills and tools that are needed to kind of like be in this space. So the essential skills that are needed is just the general skill that you will need as a game designer. Just a little bit of here and there to it. Number one will be 3D modeling and design, learning 3D modeling and design. But there are core softwares that you need to learn for digital fashion, which is 3D fashion software. Is either Clo 3D, Style 3D, Browseware. I think there's Z Weaver. There's a couple of them, so depending on which one you choose to learn. Then Blender as well, we have Blender, we have Unreal Engine, we have Unity, we have Substance Suits for texturing, and a whole host of others. So this just depends on the one you decide to go for, depends on the one that suits you best. And for texturing, we have the Substance Suit, we have Photoshop, we have Substance Painter, Substance Designer, and Adobe Illustrator. So it depends on what kind of workflow you have, but these are the essential tools you need to start with. I like to say it's better to start with one or two. So if I would say it's better to start with maybe Style 3D or Cloud 3D, and maybe one core modeling software, Blender or Maya. Then you can do one texturing software as well before you then go ahead and learn like a whole lot of others. But it's just better when you're starting up, you are starting gradually. So yeah, I think I kind of like mentioned all the softwares already. So for dedicated digital fashion software, we have Clo, we have Style 3D, we have Marvelous Designer, and we have Browseware. I think they are ZWeaver and a host of other. For sculpting, we have ZBrush. For rendering, we have Unity and Unreal Engine. For 3D modeling, we have Maya, Blender, and for texturing, we have Substance Painter, Substance Designer, and there are a host of others. But these are just few examples I have put in here to highlight the tools we needed. So, what's the workflow? What does the workflow looks like for a digital fashion designer? So it's from concept to creation. Like you see on the first slide, we have Style 3D software. That's like the concept. Then we have prototyping. So for this, if you want to do this in the physical world, like for an example, if you are trying to make a game, just the way we have storyboarding of the character, the same thing, you try on different fabrics, you try on different things digitally. So that's like and you test and iterate. So the beauty of digital fashion and how it even assists game developer is that I can also still send you, instead of sharing Google Drive or Google Doc, I can share it directly like this, and you can make comments. Oh, this does not fit the game character, we need to change the neck, we need to do this, we need to do that. So these are things you can really do right from the comfort of your software. So yeah, so how can you upskills? How can you learn this thing? Number one is online community and communication, like learning online courses. So we have you can use YouTube. There's Skillshare, there's Udemy, and of course there's Hadeeart Atelier Academy, where you can come to kind of like get the skill as well. We have conferences and workshop. Sometimes in September, together with Africa Comic Aid, we held the first digital fashion workshop ever in Africa, in Lagos, and we are able to kind of like teach and explain to people what they can use digital fashion for. And from this workshop, obviously, we have had people that had gone ahead to do great stuff. We had people that won like the first and second, third positions, and people that have continued their journey from there. So that is how you can actually acquire the skill. And another thing is to stay updated. Stay updated, know what is going on in the space, know the new tools, know how AI is being used, know how VR and AI is being used in the space of digital fashion. Know how digital fashion relates to game. Know how it relates to film. Be how do I want to say it? Be current. Yeah, that's the word. Be current. Be current. Know what's going on. So this is how you can upskill and how you can continue to learn. So, what are the opportunities to get started? Where can you find opportunities? What are the opportunities in digital fashion? So, one of the opportunity is a digital fashion designer. So, a digital fashion designer is called a costume designer in the game industry. So, someone that design game costumes is also a digital fashion designer. A digital fashion designer can work for brands like Adidas, Puma, Nike, fashion brands, Louis Vuitton, fashion brands. You can work for the game industry as well. You can work for several game industry as well. You can work in the VR company and an AR company as well. You can work as a virtual stylist. So for an example, you can work as a virtual stylist for places like Snapchat. So those are the people they call virtual stylists. And you can be an AR VR content creator, use AR VR platform to kind of like host your digital fashion. Luckily for us, we have like Swift XR platform that made like the use of AR VR very easy. So you can easily upload your digital fashion content there and create like AR VR content and share and just be a content creator. So we have opportunities in the gaming and virtual world. I think a time like that I was having a conversation with Oscar, and I was like, there's a lot of opportunities in the gaming world for digital designers. You can sell your garments in games. You can sell your garments in games, and there are several of those games. There's Roblox, there's Fortnite, there's Second Life, there's Sansa, there's a whole lot of them that you can sell your content in, and also in virtual world as well. So also lastly, we have fashion tech startups. So you can work in fashion tech startups that are trying to create sustainable solutions. So these people looks for digital skills because they are trying to be sustainable. They are trying to create. They are trying to reduce waste because fashion is one or the second most unsustainable industry in the world. So they are looking to create sustainability in the fashion world. So these people require these skills as well. So to get access to these people, if you've learned, after learning, then you've decided on the skill set you want to go for, and you've also decided on the kind of job you want, on what you want to be. Like, do you want to be a costume designer, a virtual fashion, a virtual stylist, a content creator? So how can you position yourself forward? So the first thing is to always showcase your work. Post your work online, let people see what you're doing, let them enjoy what you're doing, let them immerse people in what you're doing. The next thing will be collaboration. Try to collaborate with people, try to work together with people within different industries. And that's the beauty of digital fashion. It's not just the fashion industry, it's broad and wide. So try to work with people within different industry, then navigate the market as well. Research, make a lot of researches. That's where you know like what you want to do. Do you want to just create skins for games? Do you want to become a VR AR content creator? So navigate the market and find the one that suits you, right? Then develop your personal brand as well. So these are how you could build a portfolio in digital fashion as well as build a brand in digital fashion. So thank you very much, and if you have any question, I would be taking that. I can hear you. I can hear someone typing, but I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, fantastic. I was just talking and I was talking to nobody. Thank you so much for your presentation. I learned a lot from you. It is really cool to know that virtual fashion or digital fashion did not start now. Like, it had a history and it didn't just come out of nowhere. I'm very happy that you also mentioned um, the the areas that you can leverage such a skill in the metaverse, in digital space, NFTs, gaming. That is really cool. You know, when before you mentioned skins, I was about to write down my question. Can digital fashion also be called skins? And you just said it immediately, and I was like, you are reading my mind. That is so cool. Because I'm also a fan of fashion in games, and knowing that there are it is not just something that is in one direction. Like, there are so many people involved in making sure that your characters in games look amazing. That's that was just blew me out. You don't, it doesn't just have to be maybe NFTs or like fashion brands take advantage of this um take advantage of such a skill. So, oh, wow, you have an ongoing 3D fashion challenge.
Yes,
That
I
is,
actually forgot to mention
hey,
that. Apologies.
yeah. Thanks for letting us know about that. I'm going to reach out to all my friends um who are passionate about fashion. You mentioned something important that really struck with me. Fashion is one of those industries that produce the highest amount of non combustible waste that we have in the world. That's why these days there are so many trends like upcycling happening, because when you make clothes and you throw them away, they don't go anywhere, they're just there. So I'm so happy that there are people taking initiative to create sustainable fashion. So instead of you going to the store or maybe buying something online and then it just comes out how you didn't want it, then you throw it out. Instead, you can test it online, maybe on
Yes.
Snapchat or with your AR software or VR software. It's that is very cool. I saw recently that there are stores in Japan that make you start. You can stand in front of a camera and then you try out
Yeah, I
clothes.
think not only Japan, it's everywhere now. Actually, it's everywhere now. I think I saw one in Germany. It's everywhere now. So you just have to stand in
Mm.
front of the mirror, and you choose the particular clothes you want. You just select the clothes, then the clothes appears on your body, and if it suits your color, so you don't even have to, like the way people try out clothes and they say, oh, it doesn't fit me, and another person try it out, and that way you can share skin diseases or something. So this way you just kind of like just try it out virtually and see if it's something you want or not.
Or something you don't want. Yeah, it
Yeah.
also saves a lot of time,
Yeah.
especially with people walking up and down.
Yeah.
Can this also be applied to makeup?
Yes, yes.
There is an industry for
I
that.
think yes, yes. So when I say fashion, I don't just mean clothing, actually.
Mm,
So it's clothes, it's shoes, it's makeup. It contains makeup. So for an example, I think it's L'Oreal has like where you can try on like lipsticks, virtually. Different colors of
mm.
lipstick, foundations, you can try them virtually without actually having the product. So, for an example, if you don't know the foundation that fits you, you can try it virtually to get the exact number you're supposed to purchase before ordering. So, you don't purchase one that is maybe darker shade to your skin or lighter shade to your skin.
Yeah, that is really cool because it also prevents over consumerism, or maybe in a
Yeah.
way, instead of you buying a lot and stocking up, instead you just buy the one that's
Yeah.
need. Okay, let's see if we have some questions. This is a very, very interesting conversation. Okay, so we have a question from Michael. This sounds great, but then looking at budgeting, how easy is it to come into this industry? Considering computing, considering computing, potato PC, those softwares sound really heavy. If you understand
So
what I mean.
So, to be honest, the barrier to entry is a bit on the high side, just the same way. So, if you have any laptop that can actually do game design, the same laptop can do digital fashion. It's almost similar occupation to a game designer. The only difference is that digital fashion is niched. You are only creating clothing, while a 3D designer would probably be creating environment and a couple of things. So yes, you need to have a very good laptop. That is so I would say the barrier to entry is a bit high, but not high if you're dedicated. Remember when I started 5 years ago, I started with a laptop that do not, people always say I should stop saying that because not everybody is as dedicated as I am. I started with a laptop that does not have a graphics tablet, does not have a graphics card rather, does not have anything. So when I press one, I have to wait for like 20 minutes for it to load. But because I do not have a choice and I want to continue to learn, I used that laptop for a very long time. And at the end of the day, the laptop melted because of the level of work. But for me, I learned what I want to learn. So I feel like it's all about determination, and I feel like you can also reach out to people, let them know your intent, tell them about the industry you're trying to go and the future in it. People might be willing to help. You just need to seek the help. But yes, the barrier to entry is a bit on the high side, but I don't think that should stop anyone.
Okay, yeah, that is really cool. You mentioned the software that I think can run on a potato PC in a way because I currently have a potato PC and then it runs Blender. So if you don't have any software at all and you want to at least start somewhere, I think Blender is your go-to
Uh,
software.
yeah, Blender is really not the main software for a fashion design, a digital fashion designer. You need to either have any of the dedicated digital fashion softwares actually to really like do digital fashion. But if you are peculiar about like making just like skins alone, then you can just like go with Blender and just start somewhere.
Okay, okay, good. Thank you so much.
You're
We have
welcome.
another question from Carls. How would you rate the digital fashion scene industry in Nigeria? I think we're doing pretty good, but I'm gonna let you.
Actually, it's a new thing. I won't say it's a new thing, but it's actually it's coming up. Let me just say that, and that's why I've taken it upon myself to kind of like speak about it more, let people get aware. It's not everybody that would be a game designer, a game developer. It's not everybody that will be an animator. Some of us needs to actually move into another field and kind of like try to make something out of it. So it's a field that is just coming up. We are almost there. Let me say it like that. We are almost there.
Okay, okay. Um, Before we wrap up this segment, do you have another question? Okay, we have another question. How can brands ensure authenticity and security in digital fashion? That's a
Hmm.
very good question.
Yeah, so number one is I would say when you're releasing, so I don't know if you know about Anifa. So Anifa is a digital fashion brand that had a digital fashion show on Instagram. She had a full collection show on Instagram. Yeah,
Yes, I
so
see that.
I would say one of the things you have to look at is you have to look at the level of your brand, because there are some brands that when they release a collection, for an example, or even some games, people would not copy the exact, like for an example, let me use Fortnite for an example. You will not go and like copy Fortnite with all your art and just put it outside, because you definitely know that there is going to be consequences. So, but for a growing brand, what I would say is you just probably try to have like a lawyer, or just the same way you have, I think there's a name they call this thing,
Yeah, you put it copyright,
copyright. Yes.
you
It's not
patent it or
copyright, but
something
yeah, something like
in
that.
that
So
direction.
yeah, in that direction, you just try to have it, and yeah, you're good to go. To be honest, I feel like they would definitely steal designs. If your design is not good enough, people would not steal it. They steal games ideas, they steal a lot of things, but at least the most important thing you can do is make it your own, copyright it, and make sure that you are doing proper justice and being known for what you do.
Okay, thank you so much. So before you wrap up and before you go, please tell us about your competition, please. I want to know
Okay,
the
so
details.
okay, so there is Adiat end of the year, Adiat Atelier end of the year challenge. So it's a digital fashion channel, challenge, like I said, we are trying to see how we can make digital fashion very popular, and people can start to do it as an occupation in Africa. So the challenge is for you to kind of like design something, a digital fashion garment, African festival. How do you see an African festival garment? How should an Africa garment look like? Like if I'm going for a festival, maybe any festival you can think of, how should I dress? What should be the content of the dressing? Should it be colorful? Should I have some trims? How do you think it should look like? So create that in digital fashion using any software of your choice, and putting it on SwiftXR, and submitting like a VRA MP4 version, like a video version, on Instagram, TikTok, any social media channel of your choice, and just tag African Communicate, SwiftXR, and Adiat Atelier. So that's it. So the challenge has been extended from the 12th of December to the 20th of December. So yeah.
Hope you guys are listening. Tell your friends that they should participate. It's now or never. Oh, it's now or never. Okay, guys. Thank you so much, Hadiat, for your time. Thank you for your knowledge. I need to, fully digest this information because this is so cool, and it has gotten the inner child in me all jumpy and worked up. So yeah, thank you so much. I'm sure we can reach you on social media, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, you guys, for we have a link down there for you to fill in the live chat. Please fill it. Let us know if you enjoyed this segment. Let us know if you enjoyed, if you learned a lot, what you learned. If you have any questions, do you want her to be your mentor? Africa Comic Head is here for you. Like we are here to make your journey smooth. So just let us know what your worries are. So the next speaker is is a VIP. Is a VIP in the gaming industry. I'm talking Epic. I'm talking about Star Wars. I'm talking about um Pro Skater. I'm talking about Spider-Man 2. Like this guy is not. It was so hard to get him on the phone. Like that is. It was hard because he's a very very busy guy. But for African community, nothing is impossible. We're able to bring you, Mr. Chima Ngerem. I'm sorry, sorry how I pronounce it. How do I pronounce your name?
No, you're right. Okay.
Ngerem. Oh, hallelujah. Today I've pronounced one person's name correctly. So you are a lawyer turned game designer turned product or game publisher, game producer. Please,
All of the above.
all of the above, like an all-star in everything. It's nice to meet you. It's nice to meet
Pleasure.
you. So I'm going to hand over my mic to you. Please bestow your knowledge on us.
Sure. Okay. Um, Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all virtually. My name is Chima Ngerem, and I currently work as a video game producer. As was alluded to, my background was in law, but I made a swap over to video game production and development just because I thought it'd be a bit more interesting, to say the least. And I've been very lucky in my career so far, with over 5 years of experience in the industry. I've been able to work at some super amazing places, from Nintendo to PlayStation to uh, Activision Blizzard Group to Epic Games, Zynga, to name a few, on some awesome projects. Um, and yeah, I'm just here to, help give some insights into a little bit of what it takes to kind of get your foot in the door in terms of pursuing the career as a game designer and more specifically as a video game producer, if that is where your passion lies. So, um, I guess how the structure of this would go, I think that will be beneficial for everyone, is I'll just give a quick kind of run through of those disciplines and like what they kind of do, some of the different career paths you can kind of explore within them, some simple ways to kind of get yourself started. And then I think I'll leave the bulk of the time just for some questions because I feel that's probably what most of you are going to be more interested in diving deeper into, either my experience, any particular insights you may want or would like to hear about, or maybe some more talks about how it is trying to, like, get your portfolio together or network or whatever the case may be. So yeah, let's dive into it. So, starting off with my own particular discipline, video game production. Producers are the one-stop shop discipline. So we're called project managers in some circles, program managers in others, producers, scrum masters, etc., as compliance officers. Our job is essentially to make sure that the video game product as a whole ships to budget and within the time frame that is expected. So, when you see those trailers that's like coming 2025, coming 2026, yeah, those are the producers' nightmare because we have to make that happen. Come hell or high water. When delays happen, that's usually because we've looked over the numbers and looked over the data and looked over all the features we're trying to get in and realize, hey, this is not going to hit by that date we told the players. So we should probably put an announcement out and tell them, please bear with us. It's going to take a little bit longer to make. Yeah. So I enjoy this discipline a lot because it allows me to get exposed to a lot of different teams. So I work with designers, artists, the QA team, engineers, senior leadership team, external teams, audio teams. I get to touch a lot of different aspects of the game without necessarily having to be uh, expert, so to speak. But I get to see a lot of and work with a lot of teams and learn how they do their process, what's needed from them, um, and kind of how they kind of interrelate with one another. So for me, that's a very curious person by nature. I find that truly fascinating. So In terms of kind of like career paths in production, um, it's a pretty straightforward route. You kind of start off as like maybe like a junior producer or like a junior project coordinator or a junior project manager, whatever the terminology is used at the whatever company, and you kind of like gradually work your way up the ladder, senior, lead, executive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, with bigger title comes a bigger remit and scope of what you're responsible for, bigger in like oversight over delivery of products, more people you're mentoring and looking after, and just kind of like pushing more responsibilities are going to be pushing forward. So that was kind of the path I used to enter into the video game industry, just because I was like, well, with a legal background and knowledge, I think that was a I was able to sell myself accordingly to be like, hey, I know how to manage people, I know how to get stuff done. This is the training I've had so far. Here's what I've done in the interim, and this is what I'm trying to get into. Um, and so far, so good. So if you're trying to look into the world of video game production, definitely showcasing leadership, showcasing how you've been able to like manage risks, risk mitigation, manage projects, keep things on track, what tools you use to track things and track your teams, and just kind of showcasing those elements will be critical for those sort of roles, right? So that's in a nutshell the video game production kind of like landscape. Now, when it comes to video game design, that is a very fantastical world because design has so many subgroups and subdisciplines within it. It is a marvel to behold. There is combat design, there is narrative design, there is level design, there is encounter design, there is economy design, there is audio design. The, as many things, design is one of those disciplines that you can be as specialized as you want or as a project needs it to be. Um, and it's basically just being responsible for, depending on which design element you're looking at, how players first learn about whatever feature or element of the game you're trying to introduce to the players, how you teach it to them, and also how they kind of keep interacting with that particular element from a kind of second to second, minute to minute, and hour to hour UI design. Thank you, hour to hour element. So if it is like you're an enemy designer, your job would be, hey, how do you introduce enemies to the player? How do you introduce new factions or new subsets of enemies to the players? And how do you keep it fresh as it goes through how many hours of gameplay? If you're a UI designer, cool. How do you keep the HUD exciting? How do you keep all the numbers and figures popping up, informative to the player, not too much clutter, but still exciting and fresh? Think Persona. Think what's another one that has some really fantastic UI elements? I think like Astrobot. Yeah, that's the new one. That's really good with some awesome UI in it. So basically, and again, in each game and with each product, it's gonna be custom tailored to that unique art style, that unique game world. So you have to make sure that whatever you're designing fits into that or and doesn't break away from the setup that's already existed. If it's a existing IP or if it's a new one, you'll be lucky enough to then chart new territories. So with design, some of the best designers I have seen, what they've been able to do is one, they've been able to find the fun. That's a phrase you hear a lot. Just in games in general, you need to find the fun. We need to find the fun. Really good designers are able to distill and find the fun in whatever it is they're designing for pretty quickly, right? And this can be as simple as even just putting it down to paper design, and just like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. This is the new elements we want the players to engage with. Here's how it works on paper, and this is how it translates into the prototype or into the eventual engine. And we can find the fun on paper. We can find the fun in engine. It's sounds weird, but it does work, and I've seen it work multiple times. Especially when you need to be quick and iterative. Um, relying on the relying on the basics always helps. So I know there's a lot of video game design philosophies out there. Pick the one that works for you. There's a lot of good resources to look into for that, from textbooks to GDC talks to, I'm sure even Africa Communicated will probably have a lot of resources you can tap into and that on that front as well. But essentially, there's some good basic legwork that you need to be able to do as a designer. Doing that and doing that well will will basically just be a good foundation to take you on to the next steps and everything. Number two, another thing about being a good designer is do not be precious about your work. A lot of the time, you will work really hard on really fast on trying to develop something that you think is going to be game of the year, and your director or your lead will look at it and say, maybe nicely, maybe not nicely, but this is trash. This isn't what we're looking for. We have to start again. We have to start from scratch. We have to go back to the drawing board. And you hear that a lot over the course of a game's life cycle. Multiple games, this is life cycles. The amount of things that left like get left behind on the cutting floor is a lot. So even the games you see, w- think of like the most crazy, fantastic open world sandbox game, GTA, No Man's Sky, Cyberpunk. For as much content that the developers were able to pack into those products, there's equally as much, if not more, content that they could not just fit in, either because they didn't have enough time, either because it was too ambitious, or either because people just didn't feel it was going to be enjoyable, so they just cut it up. So if you are a designer, you will have a lot of the times your work get cut. Whether or not you think it's good, it's up to the leadership team to basically be convinced of that. So really good designers are able to take that in their stride and just be like, okay, cool. I spent 2 weeks on this. They're cutting it. That's great. Oh well, on to the next thing. And I promise you, there's always going to be work to do. There's always going to be more things that you will do that will get into the game. So, but for those times where the stuff you work on doesn't make it, it's hard. It's painful. I know. I've been there. I've seen it. But learning to take that in your stride early on will set you up really nicely. Take that from me. And then the third thing is just, I think the best way to describe it is just, I guess, keep learning. There's always like new software, there's always new tools, new like elements. Keep playing games, keep seeing what your rivals and your colleagues are doing in the industry. You never know where inspiration may come from. You never know where you might see a technique or see a design philosophy that you're like, oh, I really like how they did this in this. Let's take that element but make it our own, or twist it, or remix it into what we're trying to do, because that really worked for XYZ reason, right? And again, video games come as varied as they may be, from 2D platformers to like 3D open world sci-fi post-apocalyptic landscape environments, Fallout, etc. So what may work for one game may not necessarily work in the other. So that's why you really need to have as much of a breadth of exposure and knowledge about different things as possible. And again, another common interview question that you will get is just, what game do you like the most? What do you think works about it? If you could fix one thing, what would you fix? Because people want to really see, okay, have you thought about it? Are you still thinking about things? Are you playing other things and seeing how they could feature into everything? And even the games that you think are like, oh, this is a masterpiece. If you ask the designers of them, they'll be like, oh, no, 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 no. I left this out. I couldn't do this. If I had done this, I wish I spent more time on that. This thing is broken, but we just hacked it together and made it work. I promise you that they'll tell you there's so much more we could have done, because designers are a little bit of perfectionists, which can make it a problem for a producer. But I digress. But yeah, so with design, it's a big field. Basically, learning about narrowing down your choice into what kind of design, doing your homework, and again, ultimately, practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. So, in essence, in a quick roundabout nutshell, those are some of like the intro bits and bobs into like video game production and into like video game design.
Wow. Wow. That was that was really cool. Thank you very much for that presentation. I was I'm literally taking notes. Like I was literally taking notes while you were talking. So I have a few questions. We also have questions from our viewers. Or so we'll take them one at a time. But
Sure.
before I start reading out the questions, I really enjoyed your um, I really enjoyed listening to you talk. You mentioned so many things that I can relate to because I'm currently in the product management fellowship as is I'm a member of the Spark Fellowship under Africa Comic Aid, and I'm in the product management arc. So a lot of things you mentioned really resonated with me. For example, being a producer, you are the one that's following around the designers, the programmers, the guys in the back end. You are
Yep.
telling them, oh, we need to meet this deadline by Monday or like by Friday, and then by Wednesday they are still typing on their computers or by Thursday, and then they're not coming for stand up. And it's
Yep.
I know how hectic that can be. So when you were speaking, I was just preach, 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 because everything you said was very real. Then I can also relate as a designer because designers are very precious. That one,
Mm.
we can't. Both of us know we can't. If someone says you have, I worked 1 week, 2 weeks on this design. You can't tell me now that I'm going to have to throw away like half of my work because of okay, the audience probably think I don't know, maybe the audience is not going to resonate well with it. It's heartbreaking, but that's the kind of
Yep.
pain that we enjoy as designers. Um, Finding the fun. I love how you mentioned using paper because we're taught that too in product management, where you're having a sprint session and you pull out instead of you using your desktop to maybe put together something in the wireframe, you just pull out your paper, you bring out your
Yep.
pencil, and then you just scribble down your ideas while everything is
Absolutely.
hot in your brain. So I love that you mentioned that. I also love how you mentioned we should keep learning, and you have to keep up with other people in your community. You have to be constantly in tune with your community. You have to engage with them, ask them
Yep.
questions. You have to see what your competitors are doing and what they are not doing. We learned that one too. So honestly, I feel like I'm on the right path with this South African comic idea. Honestly, I feel very, I feel very grateful. I feel very good right now doing that. Okay, yes, I'm getting something from this experience. Okay, so my questions are number one, why did you decide to become a game producer? I mean, law is very. I mean, lawyers are very cool. It's a very profitable and a very stressful, but in a way, it is profitable. It's a profitable line of work. So why did you become a game producer, and how was that journey? How was that transition from yesterday I'm reading 300 pages and summarizing them, and then tomorrow I am, talking to a team of geeks that like anime and are working on a game together. So how was that like?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's for me. I mean, I'm a lawyer, so that's never gonna go away. I don't necessarily love it as like I can sleep and wake up and do it, but I don't also necessarily hate it either. It's like
Mm,
I can do it. I think I'm pretty good at it, but it doesn't give me the same like passion, right? So when people are like, "Oh, what are you passionate about?" I'm like, I mean, I can do it, but is this really what I want to spend the rest of my life doing? Eh. So along the way, I've been like involved in like the video game space, but I had never really thought of pursuing it properly as a career. So like, I went to school in the UK. While I was going to school, I was president of the Video Game Society at my campus and my university. I was attending video game expos and like doing part-time work at like Eurogamer and EGX and like basically showing people how to demoing games. I'm like, oh hey, welcome, come and stand and play this. This is how da, 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 da. So I was always involved in the video game space in like my free time, but didn't really click until like one day when my mom came into my room and like on the holidays and I was like playing a game at like 2 a.m. and she's like, "You're always playing these video games. Why don't you find a way to make money from it?" And I was like, "Mom, you know what? That's it.
Mothers,
That's the idea right there." So
mothers.
yeah, I thank her for it because that kind of cemented into my head like, okay, let me try this. I spend all my free time playing games, so if I can learn how to make them, work with teams that make them, learn how the sausage is made behind the scenes, get my name in the credits of some of these awesome AAA products. Yeah, it's gonna be stress, but I think the stress that I was worthwhile. And like 5, 6 years later, here I am.
Yeah, it was worth the effort. Honestly, I need to thank your mom for coming into your room today to to slap you in your head and say, "Yo, bro, it's time to make money from this. It's time to make money from this hobby of yours." I also like that you mentioned going to gaming expos and working behind the scenes. That's I think a lot of people watching or people that would watch later should take a cue from that and try to volunteer for
Yes.
comic cons, gamatons. Example, Africa Comic Aid organizes one, so gamatons too. So yeah, I think that is really really cool. You have produced a lot of epic games. I stalked your LinkedIn, so I've seen all of them. I've seen all the games that you have produced. So please, can you describe to someone like me who wants to be like you the workflow of producing games? Like what goes into what goes into it? Not the design section or the production section.
Yeah. So it's pretty straightforward. The process or the production flow of video games is it's a largely straightforward process. The only thing that might change is whether or not you're working with a licensed IP, right? So let's say, because again, each studio has their own. Let's say you're working at like a Nintendo, for example. They have the IP that belongs to them. So they have like the Mario, Pokemon, Legend of Zelda. So they have the rights to work with those particular characters and those particular worlds however they wish, as opposed to like, let's say the last project I worked on, Zynga, which was working with the Star Wars IP. So we're beholden to like Lucasfilm and Disney as a conglomerate about, hey, lightsabers have to look like this. Hey, the force works like that. You can't just, adding sparkles and rainbows at the end of like a lightsaber. No, they're like, no, 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 it doesn't work like that. So those are the things that might affect the beginning of the creative process. But by and large, you have it split into like roughly four phases. You have the pre-production phase, which is largely this is the game we want to make. This is the brainstorming, the ideation, the largely prototyping. This works. This doesn't work. We want to do this. We want to. That's think of that as your blue sky. Stick everything on. Let's see what sticks. Let's find the fun within this phase, and that kind of evolves into your first slice at the end of that kind of period, right? And then you're like, okay, this is what we're making. Here's the vision. Everybody happy with it. Here's the art style we're gonna go for. Here's the code. There's the engine we're gonna use. Yada yada yada. Here are the big features we're gonna hit. Cool, great. Then we go into full phase production development. This is where the meat is added to everything, leading up to like your alpha and your beta. And this is where the bulk of if pre-production takes about, well, using AAA games as a standard, pre-production will take about maybe what, 6 to 8 months roughly. Production then takes like anywhere from, depending on the size of the products, right?
Yes.
From I want to say 18 months to maybe 24
Okay.
as standard, but again, different things will pop up. So, but using that as a standard, that's the main production phase where you're just, you know what you're making. You're just okay. Make level. We've already seen how to make a level. Yeah, make level one, level two, level three. Make boss level. Make boss level two. Make final boss. Make secret boss. Make all of that stuff. Great. Then you have your alpha, which is basically your feature complete. Basically, every element you want to make needs to be represented in the game at some capacity. Then you have your beta, which is then content complete, where it's like everything that needs to be at this point you could ship the game. So that means all the
Ooh.
levels are in, all the art is in, all at this point, feasibly you should be able to ship your game. Then once you hit beta from that point on, that's why you have like open betas and everything where you're giving it to the public to test to be like, oh hey, let's get feedback, let's see if this works, let's see if that works, there's some things we're not too sure and let's get some community feedback in because from that point to your gold master, aka your launch date, you're basically just polishing, bug fixing, refining, tweaking, doing little bits and bobs here and there. Then you have your launch, you've launched the product. But if it's a live service product or a games as a service model, then you have your live phase where you're like, okay, we need to make sure this game goes live in all the regions and all the jurisdictions and it doesn't crash. We need to do any day one patches or hot fixes because for some reason in China the thing is crashing, but in Japan it's fine. So let's turn off these features for all of it until we figure out what's happening, and then we can turn them back on. Yada yada yada. You have the live phase and you have the post-release support phase, where it's not like, okay,
Mm,
it's out. We've done the first campaign. All right, we need to get the next events out. We need to get, the next cosmetics out. We need to get the next map out
yeah.
and allied, and then you just keep that post-release support going. Okay, next season, season two of new game, whatever inserts in game here. Coming soon with new maps, new guns, new cosmetics, new emotes, new stickers, yada yada, and then it keeps it on. But if you're doing like a more premium product like a God of War or something, once you go live and once you reach that live space, the team is pretty much like, we made it, we're done. Okay, apart from maybe a few bug fixes or a few things we need to tweak here and there, we're done. Everybody pat yourself on the back. Now let's start thinking about God of War 3. All right, let's start that phase. But at that point, yeah, that's how it flows.
Yo, that is really cool. So I'm guessing that your beta product is literally your most valuable product. Like you just put that out there so
Correct.
that people can now test. You can now start reiterating and cleaning it up. And okay, I have a question that's kind of attached to this question in a way. I understand that pre-production, this period is usually fun. You are shooting out ideas, you are in the conference room, we are arguing a little bit.
It's fun for certain people. It's not so much fun for other people.
Okay, it's fun for the producers, Sha. Is it fun for the producer? No.
No. I
Okay,
find as a
so
producer, my fun part is production because we know what we're making. It's now a matter of just, okay, we have XYZ window to make this. This is what we know we're making. Go.
okay,
Pre-production is a lot of the creatives bashing. No, no, no. We need to
yeah.
have shooting. No, no, no. We need to have it underwater level. Have we made an underwater level before in all our years of making this thing? No, but these people made underwater level. Now, why can't we now do underwater
Yeah,
level? Look, it will be easy. Don't worry. The engine will do most of the work. And I'm like, are you
that's
sure?
when
Have we
you
tested this? How's the prototype looking? And the prototype is still in the works. I'm like, we want to commit to this. You're sure? Okay, okay, let's try it. Let's see.
so I'm guessing the creatives would enjoy that part. So number one, so what is the part of production you enjoy the production stage more than pre-production, right? So even during this period, do you have certain habits that I know that while producing it, it can get a bit hectic because
Mm,
we literally organize this thing, so I can relate. So I want to know what habits you have that keep you on track, make sure that everything is going according to deadline, um, etc. So what kind of habits do you have that help you navigate this period?
sure. For me, what I like to do, I think what my job is largely to always hold the big picture in mind because the developers, I told my team, I'm doing my job well when you're wondering what it is I'm doing. That's when you know a producer is doing
Okay.
their job well.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
you need to be focused on making the actual. I don't really make anything in the game. I'm not coding anything. I'm not like submitting anything to Perforce or GitHub. I'm not drawing anything. I'm not creating sounds. I'm not doing any of that. I'm managing your workflow, right? So if I'm doing my job correctly, which luckily I think I am for most of the time, my job is to see the big picture and know that, okay, we have XYZ amount of time before this game has to come out. This is the section I'm responsible for. These are the amount of people I have. Here's the hit list of what we have because now pre-production has ended and we know what we're making. We know we need 8 levels that include this and that and has 3 boss fights in between each one and I'm like, okay, this is our hit list. This is how much people I have on my team to make it. Here's the section I'm responsible for. Here's the length of time we have. It's now okay. Does it fit or does it not fit? So to keep track of that, you can create a roadmap from basically when we start production properly all the way to the end. I keep track of each individual team members, kind of like work log, kind of like holidays, kind of like sick day, just like okay, with this block of time, if anything happens, if this person falls ill for 2 months, how does that affect us? Are we in trouble? Are we still okay? Can we move things around? Is everybody fully swamped? Is everybody fully like stacked on stacked on stacked? Or is it like, oh no, it's okay. Jane is, she's feeling under the weather. She went for a surgery. She's had back pain. And let's just give it to Cynthia. She'll handle the rest of it. And then John can jump in at the end to help with that. And they can still handle their own work while it's okay. I can move things around. So to keep on track with that, I have like daily stand ups. I have like sprint retrospectives. I have like sprint reviews. Basically, just think about agile management methodology, just kind of in check, just making sure that my team is doing okay. If there's any issue, they escalate it accordingly. Because again, with video games and most software products, you're making things that haven't been made before. So even though you have your estimates and your best guesses, most of the time you end up running into an issue like, oh, I thought this was gonna work, but it doesn't work the way we did, and that's
Yeah.
fine. Where that becomes a problem, which you have to, as a producer, you have to be good on checking with your team, is when people try to hide it because they make it, it's like, oh, we gave our word that, oh yeah, this is gonna take like a month to sort out and it'll be done, and then 2 months later, you're still struggling with the thing that says it's gonna take a month. So it's like, if we need to pivot, that's fine. Let's pivot while it's early. Let's let the team know.
Mm-hmm.
Let's let the leadership team know. Let's know so that we
Mm-hmm.
know, okay, hey, we're going to say we're going to do an underwater level. The tech isn't quite working, so we can't do an underwater level. Maybe we'll do a sky level. Same principle, but we'll just do it up in the air. We don't have to worry about fluids and thermodynamics and how Houdini can't work with this or da 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 da. It will just
Yeah.
be clouds and do platforms in the sky. Then we say we have a sky level. Okay, that's work. That'll be easier. Let's do that. But you find out that part of your job as a producer is digging into what your team is doing and making sure that you catch those things early. You raise all
Mm-hmm.
these risks and red flags early so that if we need to pivot, if we need to make a change, if we need to go back to the drawing board on one aspect, we have those leadership people making those decisions while we keep the team working on the rest of the things that are still going on track.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I'm going to read questions from the comments, the live comments, because it seems like I'm holding you now. Yeah, I'm the only person that is taking all your, that is taking your time. So, the first question is from Xavier. Thank you, Xavier. Um, I can see a producer role working as a career in a mature industry that favors specialization, that is the Western industry. In an
Mm.
African context, though, how can one make it? I have to eat my brother.
Um,
um,
it's I mean, again, like I said, it's however you want to call it, producer, project manager, program manager, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, there are a lot of transferable skills that you can leverage into those roles, right? Because if you're if I'm like hiring for like a producer, what I need to check is, have you worked in a software development like leadership or management role where you've overseen a team, where you've what issues have you run into, how do you track things, how do you keep on top, how do you show that, how do you one show responsibility, two show accountability as well, because things will go wrong. Do you hide it? Do you raise the red flag and like, hey, listen, my team and I, we ran into this issue, or we messed up, here's what we're trying to do to resolve it? Do you come with solutions, or do you just like, how's your mindset and how's your problem solving mindset as well? Because um the rest of the team is kind of counting on you to be the kind of one overseer looking into the future and keeping in track of like things that need to hit, as well as two, being like the person that has an insight into what your team is building and what issues might be unique to the set of people you're managing and overseeing, right? So that's why I'm like, again, if you're doing your job, your team should be wondering what you're doing. But then
Mm.
whenever you take a little vacation or take a little sick day, they'll know,
They will
because then
feel it.
they'll feel it. They'll be so grateful that, oh, this person was here taking notes and following up on this and that. Ah, Chima, welcome back. We missed you. See, please carry on what you're doing.
Goals,
Um,
goals.
and again, in an African context, there are there are there are roles that I'm sure that you can kind of leverage these kind of skill sets, and they're all soft skills, they're all transferable skills, T skills. So this could be in video game space, this could be in the software development space, it could be in the telco space, it could be in oil and gas, this could be in culinary, hospitality. It's all the same thing, right? You're responsible for getting something done. You have a team of people you're kind of overseeing and overseeing their workload. You're the leader in the sense of those people, guiding them towards a deadline. How do you keep track of that? And how do you, at the end of the day, show responsibility and accountability for delivering what it is you and your team have signed up for?
Yeah. Are you hearing, Xavier? Send us a DM on African Comic. We'll help you on that question. We have a question from MZAD. How do you market yourself as a game designer to companies?
That is a good one. Um, from what I've seen, right? You have to, the way to see it is you have to put yourself in the company's shoes, right? So let's pick an example. CD Projekt Red, for example, right? They made The Witcher, they made Cyberpunk. So you already know when you're looking at a company or trying to target yourself to a video game company, you should know what products they make, right? So if you're applying to those or trying to market yourself to those companies, you need to market it in a way that they themselves can see where they can place you, right? So you can't come to like a CD Project Red and be like, "Oh, hey, I'm a 2D pixel designer." Da, 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 da." That doesn't fit
Yeah,
in with their aesthetic. That doesn't fit in with any of their products. That's
yeah.
just not going to work, right? On the flip side, if you go towards like a Supercell with Brawl Stars and you're like, "Hey, I'm a 2D designer," they're like, "Oh, that works with your art style. That works with your this. That works with that." So first thing first is you have to know who it is you're targeting and make sure that the skill sets you're kind of like marketing applies directly to the kind of products that they make. Unless they're saying that, oh, they're doing looking for someone that's going to be, handling their new project, which is completely different from what they've made in the past. You should be able to know if the person you're marketing to is, do they do more 2D or 3D? Do they do more design that's linked to this or design that's linked to that? Are they narrative driven or are they more gameplay driven? Are they more experiential design or are they more emergent design? It'll be there from just the kind of products they make. And again, there are a lot of people that have done postmortems and analyses of this is an example of this, is an example of that. This studio focuses on this, the studio focuses on that. So just again, looking at what products they've made and what products they put out, and then just tailoring yourself to that. And again, not every company is a fit for you. Just as a heads up as well, it's not everywhere that it will be a perfect match for you. But again, um, that's where doing your homework comes into play, where you're like, okay, this is what I really want, this is where my skills are, and these are the companies that match what I'm looking for. So let me create my portfolio around showing these people why when they look at my thing, they're like, ah, we need this person like yesterday. Ah, look at how they do this. This fits into, we can see where we can pluck and put this person in, and they can just start working without to teach them too much. So
Yeah,
just think about it from that point of view.
yeah, that is very nice. So you curate your portfolio, do your research and curate your portfolio.
100%.
Next question. Same. Are there universal laws to game design that you can apply to all genres, even ones you don't like? Thank God I'm not the one asking.
The simple short answer to that is I would say yes. Um, yes, the answer to that is yes. I don't know all of them, but I can give you a quick example. I can give you one off the cuff of my head, which is like tutorials. A lot of designers fight over what a tutorial should be. Some say they should have no text, it should be emergent. Some say it should be some will bombard you with everything you need to know plus more. Like, hey, here's the whole rule book plus X plus this plus that. So it's like it's up to you to kind of engage with it as need be. But in every game you go through, they have to teach you how to play it. They have to teach you the mechanics, they have to teach you the, you know, how to move, how to double jump. There has to be a way of presenting that to the player. So you think of a game of like a simple game like Mario, right? Super Mario way back in the day. No real tutorial, but instinctively, when you look at like some of like the videos that have been done about how they first made it, it's like, oh, the music kind of like draws you into pressing a button, and then from there you realize, oh, A is jump, oh, A and B are both jump. Okay, then this is move. Okay, then you kind of like, the way the level was first laid out encourages you to figure out
Move
the
forward.
mechanics and flow from there. So, you know, tutorial. That's a simple one off the top of my head, but I'm sure there are lots of other elements, again, depending on which part of design you're going into, whether it's narrative or encounter or economy or world building design. I'm sure they all have their own kind of like universal sort of like truths.
Okay. So next question. As a producer, what aspect of your role do you enjoy more and which do you find more challenging? I think we've answered this, but let's
Yeah, I mean, I guess the aspect of my role I enjoy is just again learning about what other people do. I'm a very some call it being a nosy or being boyish, but yeah, I'm like, what are you doing? What's happening? What's how do you do this? Why did you use that? What's this? What's the issue with that? Oh, if we do this, does this have a problem? Does this have a knock-on effect on that? This and that and that. Because me better understanding what my team does helps me better predict, oh, if this person needs this from this, then I should be checking up with these people to make sure that they have what they need, especially if my team is an upstream team or a downstream team, then I should be able to know, hey, this will be a roadblock if we don't get this in time, or hey, this might be a roadblock for another team if we don't get on our stuff and make sure we deliver things in a timely manner so that we can hand it over to them in a, timely fashion. So yeah, being nosy and learning about what other people do, I think is one of the parts I enjoy the most. As the one I find more challenging,
challenging it.
kind of alluded to that a little bit, and that's just basically managing some of the creative disagreements that may erupt or that does erupt.
Yeah, in the meeting room, in the conference room. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Because it's not my call to make
okay.
any call about what the design is, but it's my job to ensure that you guys come to a decision. So, are we doing this underwater level or not?
Or not. Exactly. Okay, next question. How do you measure your idea metrics? I love this question. Please.
Mm, it's it varies. I would like to say it's a bit of a democracy, but it's not so much a democracy as it is a little bit of politicking.
Mm,
Um, um, ultimately, right? It would I these decisions and ideas, whatever gets how do I put this? Ultimately, like ideas are welcomed from everybody, and at any like throughout the course of development, um, ideas are welcome from anybody from any level, but they do get prioritized. They do get an effort value attached to it, and they do kind of get. It's ultimately up to like the creative director and like head of design to kind of like give the thumbs up or thumbs down as to whether these ideas kind of like go through, get explored, or just kind of gets left in the cooler and chilled on ice. So that's why I'm like, it's a bit of politicking, it's a bit of advocating, it's a bit of some people. I don't know. I don't recommend this, but some people go a little bit rogue and make it on their own time and just kind of put it into the game and see if anybody notices. I notice.
she
Some
does.
people don't. Some people find out and are like, "Oh wow, this actually made sense. Wow, I'm happy you put it in." Some people get upset. Who put this thing in? Why is this this? Was this what we agreed to make? Yada yada yada. Eh, Yeah, but in a more, I guess, professional sense, the kind of like KPIs that we kind of, depending on what ideas we're trying to like pitch, like that we kind of used to check if it's viable or if it's sticky. So that's the word, another word people tend to use, that is sticky. So it's like when you pitch that idea initially, are people still thinking about it in some capacity? So that's what we call about like stickiness. Um, Ultimately, a good arbiter of what we use to check if ideas work or not is we have what we call external consumer testing. So we get some members of the public that hit a demographic that we want the game to like kind of like appeal to, and it's all signed NDAs and everything, and they play like an prototype version, and they we give them like an A/B testing, like, oh, some people play this, some people play that, and we see which ones, what the feedback and scores are, because then that's a nice impartial way of getting feedback of, wow, people really engage with this in a high level, or like, they we thought this was great, but these people did not understand it at all, and they were like, oh, this is too complicated, so like, oh wow, maybe we need to rethink some things. So we try and do that as part of like the we try to do that kind of in the pre-production phase and a little bit of the early production phase, just to kind of like reaffirm that we're on the right track with certain
Yes.
initiatives.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. A/B testing, focus groups. Yes, doing your research. Okay, we have another question from Steve Demola. How do product managers come in during product promotions? He's talking about after you ship the product, right? That's product promotions.
Well, product managers are pretty much involved before the product promotions go out, right? So as producers, we have our own general roadmap for like the development of the product as a whole. Product managers have certain like features and like elements that they are then responsible for building and kind of like putting getting like put through. So for example, let's say a product manager might say, oh, on the launch of the game we need to have, XYZ amount of skins, XYZ amount of cosmetics, because that translates into XYZ revenue that we can get per XYZ amount of install base. Boom. Now, in order to increase that revenue scale by season two, when the game launches, we need to have increased that cosmetic share by X percent. We need to have some other sticky features as well. Let's say like a sort of loot box system, or like a yeah, like a loot box system where people can spend money and pull some extra items or extra resources or extra in-game currency that can be used to do X, Y, and Z, because that creates more internal mobility within the app, and they have their own metrics of like what they're trying to do. So product managers' input comes into the producer's kind of roadmap, because they help define part of the stuff that's the team ends up making in order to hit those deadlines. So if they're saying, hey, by season one, this is what we need to have, season two, this is what we need to have, season three, this is what we need to have. So and that makes like our year one. Then, we have to basically make those features to hit by those phases. So they come in pretty early, and they keep on kind of like assessing and getting like the analytics and data feedback in to then be like, oh, this worked better than expected, so maybe we don't need this now, or oh, this did not work at all. Let's see what else we can do to kind of like tweak it, to tweak retention, to tweak engagement. There are different things that keep tweaking: retention, engagement, spend, community. There's a lot. There's like
Yeah.
it depends which KPI they're kind of like looking after.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I think that's our last questions. That's our last question. The live chat is actually full of a lot of questions. But please, you guys, maybe send us an email if you want more information from our speaker. Please send us an email, Africa Communicate, or send us a message on Instagram or LinkedIn. We're always available. So if you want to talk more, send us an email and then we'll make sure to get back to you. Thank you so much, Chidi. I really, Chima. I really, really I really enjoyed our conversation. You dropped a lot of you dropped a lot of valuable information today. That's really changed my perspective as a PM, a product manager. And I feel like you've also impacted all of the people listening to us or the viewers listening to us right now who have very, very wonderful questions for you. So how can we reach you? How can we how can we reach you? If we want to say hello, if we want to say hi, if we want mentorship, how can we get your contact? How do we contact you online?
Sure. You can always add me on LinkedIn. Just my full name, Chima Denzel Ngerem. You'll find me on LinkedIn. Pretty easy. If you do need to find me on socials, I am on X as well at Igbo Gamer, and I'm also on Instagram at Chimagram, CHIM underscore AGRAM. So shoot me a message, just let me know where, hey, loved your talk, would love to connect, would love to keep in touch, etc., etc., etc. And we good.
I'm number one. If you check your DM now, I'm sure you see my message very soon. All right.
All right,
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you so much. Please, to everyone watching, we have a link for you to fill. Let's know if you enjoyed the session. Let's know if you have questions, what you learned from this session. Yeah, let's hear from you. We want to hear from you, please. We want to know what we can do to make your life easier. Thank you so much, Chima. I really enjoyed our conversation. I think we can call it a night officially, right? Is there anything that you would like to say? Is there any question I didn't ask you that you probably thought, okay, I would? Is there any question that I didn't talk about today or I didn't drop today that you think is important that you say right now to the future PMs or producers that are watching you or the future game designers that are watching you right now?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Um, your community is important. Networking is important. It's a lot about your skill set, but it's also a lot about who you know and who you've connected with. And it's better to build those connections early than when you need something. Okay. So a lot of people in this industry are super friendly. They're super helpful. They're happy to have a chat. They're happy to grab a virtual session, add them on anywhere you can find them on social media, add them on LinkedIn, send them a message. Hello, this is who I am. This is what I'm trying to do. I really appreciate you, and just make sure, you keep those connections alive because you never know when they may be able to, put you in a position where, hey, are you still looking for a design gig? Are you looking for a producer gig? We have a role opening here. We have a role opening there. There's a new studio opening up here. I think I know the person who might be great for this. Talk to this person, talk to that person. So it's better you build those connections early and keep it maintained before you really like, hey, I really, really would love to work at this company that just opened and I see you're working there. Can you help me out?
Exactly. Thank you so much.
All
That's
right.
gold. You guys tell your friends only African comic kid would do this for you. Like no one else on this continent to do this for you. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Chima. That is all for
likewise.
tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed today's session. I don't know. I don't know about you, but I learned a lot. I am a changed person today. I'm a changed person, honestly. And I hope this group of speakers actually made an impact in your life. Reach out to Africa Communicate on social media. Take part in our events. We are the only ones that can do this for you. Okay, you guys. Thank you so much for enduring. Thank you so much for thank you so much for viewing. Thank you so much for engaging. Thank you for your questions. Have a great night.